a 34-year-old who never worked a day in his life is Medicare eligible right now. His mother thinks that he's waiting until 65, and honestly, she has good reason to. Because what made him eligible happened to somebody else in his family, technically. And back then, I read the rule about 3 times before I said anything to them out loud. So she told me that he's on disability. He was diagnosed at 19, and he's never held a job in his life. And if you've been in this business a while, your mind goes to SSI automatically when you hear that. And I get it, because mine did too. Because technically, he has no work history and no earnings record to draw on. But Title II pays a worker's record, and the person drawing on that record does not have to be the worker. Now, 3 things follow from that, and the third one is why this mother has kept her son's bank account under $2,000 since 2011. So I first met her when she came to the office with a folder, the kind that has the elastic band and everything, and she had all these documents in date order. She was super organized, going back to 2011. And almost, as an afterthought, when she was almost about to leave, she mentioned that her husband, his dad, retired 2 years prior. And see, that sentence right there, that's the whole case. And shame on me, because I hadn't thought to ask about the father back then. Really, it was because on its face, he had nothing to do with it. But one of the people who can draw on a retired worker's record is an adult child whose disability began before age 22. It's called Childhood Disability Benefits. And sometimes I guess you can also hear it being called Disabled Adult Child, or DAC, DAC. Now, that claimant needs no work history at all. What they need is a parent who is entitled. And that happens when the parent either retires, becomes disabled, or dies. So her son really stopped being an SSI recipient and became a Title II beneficiary the month that his father filed. All the family noticed, though, was that their check amount, had gone up a little bit. And I guess nobody challenges or questions anything when, money goes up. But really, nobody explained the switch to them. And it started, really, what it started is 2 clocks running. 2 things were running, and they didn't even know about it. The first one is Medicare. So Title II entitlement starts a 24-month check, and Medicare turns on in the 25th month. His father had retired 2 years prior, from what she told me, so that clock would have either been finished or about to finish. Like, he's either eligible that same day, or maybe he was a couple weeks out. And his mother was planning around Medicare at 65. Now, the second thing is the $2,000. Title II carries no resource limit at all. She has spent 15 years keeping that account almost empty, from what she told me, because that's what she was told back in 2011. And for the last 2 of those years, really, there hasn't been any rule requiring it. Now, when I got to that part, she opened the folder, loved her. She found the place, that little page where somebody first wrote it down, dated March of 2011. Now, let's talk about the third one. I would check before saying anything to them, somebody in that situation, is whether his Medicaid survived the switch, because remember I said the amount goes up? So the good news is there's a federal protection built for exactly this, but the tricky part is that the state systems don't always apply it. But I'll come back to that in another video because it's too long. But what turned this case was that one question, and really it took about 10 seconds. And it's really, that question is, whose record the check is paid on? Now I ask that before I even ask about the diagnosis, because sure, the diagnosis tells us what the person has, but the record is what tells us what the person is on. Now, to make this much easier, I put together a 1-page worksheet that walks you through that question and the 4 answers that it gives you, and I called it the 2-program check. It simplifies everything. It's in this week's issue of the Medicare Monopoly, which is my newsletter that I published on Substack. There's a line on it for what the client tells you and a separate line for what the record shows. Because in this case and in many others, those two things are really 15 years apart.